Show podcast. We're over here at FM Digital Media. Lots to get to as Coach Wade is going to, we'll bring him into the conversation. We'll talk all about what's going on in college basketball right now as we are getting towards March. Mac McClung won the slam dunk competition, who I remember a Saturday afternoon in the Maravich Center, Texas Tech's McClung. Good Lord.
He single-handedly beat us, didn't he?
No doubt about it.
In fact, we couldn't inbound the ball against the damn press.
That's right. What was it about McClung that day? He was, that might have been his best.
He very well till the end, till like the last 2 or 3 minutes, and he hit all those fadeaway threes. He had a tough one in the opposite corner from our bench.
Yeah.
He made some. That was off 2 offensive rebounds. He got 2 offensive rebounds. I'll never forget this. Cam Thomas passes the ball to Josh LeBlanc, and they fouled Josh LeBlanc. I'm like, Cam, you never passed the damn ball. Why'd you pass it to LeBlanc to shoot the 1-and-1? You hold the ball and make them foul you. Like, so one time all year,
shooter in the country.
And Texas Tech's just like pigeons on a ham sandwich. They got 5 guys there to foul him. And frickin' he misses the front end of the 1-and-1, then they come down and hit a 3, and like Cam gets the ball, he's like 90% free throw shooter. I'm like, now you decide to pass the ball. But anyway, that was one of the tougher. Yeah, that was a brutal loss. Like that was one. That was one of the tougher losses that we've had. We did a terrible job. We changed our whole inbound stuff full court after that. Like I did a poor job coaching down the stretch.
Because y'all controlled the game.
We pulled away in the second half. Yeah. It was nip and tuck the first half. We pulled away in the second half. And, we were up 8 or 9, pretty comfortable. And, they got a bunch of charge calls. And, it was a joke. But anyway.
You were all I was thinking about watching McClung win the slam dunk.
The official who called all the charges and stuff. But I'm still, I've gotten over it in 2
Did you think McClung would be he's only played 2 NBA games.
Well, I've known him since he was in high school. He's from Gate City, Virginia,
That's right.
Which is a really, really rural area in southwest Virginia. It was incredible because the state championships were at VCU. VCU hosted the state tournament and the state championships. And the whole town of Gate City would come when they would play. It was unbelievable. And he played for an AAU team actually out of Richmond, team loaded on the Adidas circuit, one of the premier Adidas teams in the country. He played for them, so I was very familiar with him when he went to Georgetown and then Texas Tech as well.
Obviously, the NBA All-Star Game, something has to happen. Do you watch that product? I know this is
I was actually watching Boise State and UNLV last night instead of that. Right. So I didn't watch much. I watched some of the Rising Stars. I've actually talked to Tari yesterday, FaceTime yesterday from out there. But I watched some of the Rising Stars game, things like that. But now I don't pay much attention to that.
Cam should be there next year, right? I would think.
We hope. We'll see. We hope. I'll see. He's doing some good things, so hopefully, he'll keep it rolling, and I think he'll have some opportunities here down the road.
How close do you think Nas is to that game?
We'll see. He's been playing great. He's got a lot of buzz in the league. A lot of people really like him. It's a big step to be an NBA All-Star now. Mm-hmm. I think we got some guys that down the road can certainly make things happen.
All right, what are you seeing here? This is kind of the time of the year. Does things change around the facility at this time of the season? What is a college basketball life for a head coach in mid-February?
Yeah, this is kind of the dog days right now. And, obviously when you're in a title chase, that's important. When you're on the bubble, that's important. But really, you've been going at it for so long. I always tried to change things up this time of year, try to add some energy, not do the same things every day. Like last year, there were some days we came to practice and we just played pickup. I let the guys pick teams and play pickup, and I'd sit over there and just watch. Because I want them to you got to make it a little more fun, I think, at this time of year. The 2 things I'd always try to do this time of year were make it more fun and work on our shooting a ton. Because I feel like if you can make shots in tournaments, That's obviously very helpful. But it's definitely the dog days. You want to mix it up. Like I remember last year, and we were coming off we had a lot of stuff going on, but we took our guys to eat at the Japanese steakhouse before we went to the airport a couple times, or we let them choose restaurants. Just try to mix it up and change it up a little bit, because it's been a long season. You've been in routine. You keep doing the same thing, and the guys get tired of that. They get worn out with that. So we did a scouting report test, and if you didn't get 80% on the scouting report test, there's your playing time would get docked. I'd make you go to remedial school and all this stuff. So sometimes instead of just doing the test, last year we played Jeopardy. We made it into a Jeopardy and did Jeopardy where it was more fun and they were playing against each other and that sort of thing. So you just try to find unique ways to reach them and keep it fresh this time of year. I mean, everybody's tired. The officials are tired. Yeah. I was actually always trying to be nicer to the officials in late February because they were worn out. They've been traveling all year. They've been getting on planes. I was flying back from a game yesterday. I was on a plane with an official, really good official, high-level official. We were standing next to each other in the boarding line for Southwest coming back. But, I think I think there's just a lot of stuff the last couple of weeks of February. Then once you get to March, it picks back up. You automatically get that jolt. And there were certainly things I was going to do different. We had studied our team. There's every time in February we'd go on a little bit of a losing streak in early to mid-February. So I was going to kind of try to start the fun stuff a little bit earlier. Not fun, but the changing of things a little bit earlier. It seems like I've been a week late maybe the last couple of years, and so I was going to try to certainly change that up a little bit. So it's an interesting time. It's kind of that in between time, and especially if you're in the conference title race or you're in the NCAA tournament race, it's tough. If you're playing for nothing, I mean, there's not a lot you can do, and if you're kind of in the tournament and you're playing for seeding, you got to walk a thin line between what you're doing. So a lot of it's based on kind of where you are in your season and where you are with your team at that time.
SEC, I got Alabama and Tennessee as locks. Everybody else feels like they're on the bubble, right?
Yeah, I mean, Alabama's a lock. They're going to be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
They may be the overall number 1 seed.
Right.
They were on the reveal this weekend, but they're a lock. Tennessee's a lock. Tennessee's metrics are a lot better than their team, but they're a lock. I mean, I think A&M's getting in the. I mean, they just won so many SEC games. So they got Tennessee at home this weekend or this week, and then they got Alabama at home too, which could be for the SEC title.
Coach, they're a tough out right now, right? I mean,
they
can score.
Typical Buds team. It took them a little while to come together, but they're just they're tough, and. Their offense has gotten better. Wade Taylor's shooting it well. Obviously, Boots Radford's playing well. But I think A&M's close to a lock. I mean, I think Kentucky, after beating Tennessee twice, they're going to get in. Arkansas will get in. I still think Missouri will get in. I think Mississippi State's got an outside shot. You look at Mississippi State's schedule; it's real front-loaded. They've got a lot of winnable games here down the stretch. That's a big win for them at Ole Miss this weekend. I think they still got South Carolina to play. At least they play South Carolina one more time. They've got a game at Vanderbilt, which is a tough game. Vanderbilt's hot right now, but they've got some really winnable games. I think if they get to 9-9, they're going to have they're going to have a good shot as well. I think Auburn will obviously get in. So I think the SEC is going to get 6-7 teams in when it's all when it's all said and done. But I agree with you. Alabama's a lock. Tennessee's a lock. I think A&M's getting close to there. I know they've had some really bad non-conference losses to Murray State, Wofford, couple others, but they've done what they need to do in league. I mean, they're killing it. They're killing it in league. They're 12-2 in league, and they've got some good wins. They've got a win over. They've got some wins over all those teams. They won at Auburn, who's on the who's in that group. They've won. They split with Arkansas, who's in that group, and so they've obviously got Tennessee and Alabama left to play. They won at Missouri, which was a huge win. I think there's a lot of good things going for A&M. I think all those SEC teams have some good things going in. I'd say they're going to get 6 in for sure, and I think a 7th is likely.
What's going on with North Carolina?
Well, didn't we say in the preseason I didn't think they should be preseason number 1? I thought they were kind of being judged off of look, if you take out the 3 weeks of the NCAA tournament, this is just kind of who they've been the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. They're just average. And so I think they're they're going to be on the bubble. They're going to be first 4. They're going to be in Dayton or one of those first 4 out, but they just hadn't been able to put it together. Losing Brady Manick was huge. I mean, he was somebody that was a huge piece and a huge component to what they were doing, and losing him was a big loss for them. And the ACC just doesn't have as many quality teams in it, doesn't have as many quality win opportunities, which is which is going to make life tough for them as they try to climb out. They had a great chance to win at NC State yesterday, and certainly got beat. They've been swept by Pittsburgh, who's going to get in and has been playing well, kind of been the surprise of the ACC. And so, they've still got a chance. They play Duke at home to end the regular season. They're going to really need to win that and put a lot of, they're going to have to put everything they got into that to hopefully propel them into the tournament.
The Blue Devils are projected to be a 7 or an 8 seed right now. What have you made of Shire in his first season?
I think they've done a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've had a lot of injuries. Tariq Whitehead's been hurt. He's getting back. I think they got 3 of their Final 4 at home starting tonight, I believe. They've got 3 of their Final 4 at home, or tomorrow night, I'm sorry. The one road game's at Carolina, but I think they can run it up here. I think they'll be 6, 7, 8 seed somewhere there in the middle, but their talent's that of a 2, 3, or 4 seed. So I think they'll be a really, really dangerous team in the NCAA tournament, especially if they just keep everybody healthy, keep everybody together. They've lost a ton of games to injuries with Whitehead and some of the other guys. Filipowski's been playing great. Roach has been out, and he started to come back, and he's been playing better. So there's a lot to like about Duke. I'm a little more bullish on them than most. I think they've got a good team. I think Shire's done a really, really good job on a lot of fronts with them, and so I think there's a lot of positive momentum for them. They need to win these 3 home games coming down the stretch, and make a little bit of noise in the ACC tournament, get the seed. If they're a 6 seed, that's a really good. It's a good seed to be. You get that 11, which is a tough game, but the 3 is usually a 50-50 game. Then you get the 2, who's outside of a couple of those 1s. I mean, everybody else is pretty much the same, and you can make some noise. So I'd say they want to work to get on that 6 or 7 line.
If you had played your team into the tournament by this time of the season, were you seed hunting at this point? Were you trying? I mean, were you playing for better seeding?
Somewhat. I mean, a lot of it's matchups, not necessarily your seed.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the matchups that you get. There's certain teams that are poor matchups for you. There's certain teams that are really, really good matchups for you. So you're really, the seed kind of is what it is. It's good. They're gonna make it what it is. But it's really about just trying to play your best. And like I said, trying to get your team to shoot it better. Like that was a big emphasis for us, was to try to shoot it better down the stretch. We would spend 30 minutes doing shooting drills in practice and shooting games and just stuff to try to keep it fun, but also get some work on our shots. But once you get to the tournament, most of it's about matchups more than the seeding. Obviously, you want to be a 6 seed or better. I think that the 6 or 7 or better. Once you get in the 8, 9, you got to play the 1, the 10. But if you can get a 6 or 7 seed or better, if you're locked into that, then it just becomes, who you're matched up with, who you're playing, where you play doesn't really matter that much, in my opinion. A lot of it's just who and where. I actually liked going further away from home. I thought there were at least less distractions the further away you go. Don't have to deal with as much with tickets and all that stuff. We got sent to Portland and Salt Lake City when I was at VCU, which was great. You just don't have a ton of folks. Or we went to Portland when I was an assistant. We went to Oklahoma City and Salt Lake City when I was echo. But we were halfway and all the way across the country, and so I think that can work in your favor as well. So There's just a lot of factors, but the biggest factor is your matchup and having your team playing as well as they can play going into those tournaments.
You mentioned Bama as the top overall seed. They also had Houston, Kansas, and Purdue as the other one seeds. You like that?
Yeah, I mean Kansas is playing great. Purdue's been pretty consistent. They picked up a big win yesterday, and they've been struggling a little bit. They lost 3 out of 4, but then they won again yesterday. So you can't really argue. You can't really argue with those. I think those are good teams. And look, I mean, any of those top 16, 20 teams could probably win it. And I think there are a lot of teams out there that are good. It's going to be matchup based, matchup driven. I was talking to somebody in Houston's program last week, and they're just talking about the matchups and matchups they like and matchups they don't. And so, that's what every coach is thinking about right now is getting their team to play the best they can play, making them the best version of themselves, best version of their team right now, and then putting themselves in the best position to get a seed that gives them the best matchups moving forward. So, that's all part of it, and you just gotta figure that out as you wind down here in the season.
How difficult is this time of the year because of how much film you already have out of your current team?
Well, you always try to change things up. We'd always add 2 or 3 things each game, add a little spice to it. But look, everybody knows what everybody's doing by this time of the year. You call out a play, they know what you're running. It's can you kind of impose your will? Can you impose what you do on the other team? That's what it's about. Kind of like what Houston did yesterday with Memphis. They just bludgeoned them on the glass. Just kind of did what they do. You got to play to your identity, and everybody's going to take away your strengths this time of year. Everybody's going to know what you're good at. You got to be able to adjust. You got to have a couple of wrinkles, a couple of new things. I believe every game give guys something to think about a little bit.
How we mentioned difficulty in managing the practices and keeping things fresh around this time of the year. How about recruiting at this point of the season? How do you keep on top of that?
I would always kind of shut the recruiting down this time of year. I would talk to kids on the phone, but we didn't travel a whole lot. I'd tell our staff, because they'd always want to go travel, I'd say, guys, our best recruiting is to win. We need to win right now. Win at the end of the year, win in March, and all the recruiting will take care of itself. So unless it was just an emergency, you're always recruiting. You need to talk to them, FaceTime them, all that sort of stuff. But unless it was just an absolute emergency where I felt like we had to go see somebody or go do some touch-up work, or somebody was tampering with somebody or something was going on, unless it was an absolute emergency, we need to put everything we had into our team. Our best recruiting was winning with the team we had now and advancing and doing what we, and playing on national television a bunch. So really about middle of February till middle of March, we weren't going to leave the office very much to recruit. We were going to do it on our phones. We were going to, it was a very special exception. Like we did it when we were trying to sign Watford. He was a 5-star. We knew we had to have him. We would fly up and back a couple times during the, we would do that if it was somebody that was ultra important that wasn't committed and that sort of thing. But for the most part, we tried to shut it down and focus on our team, because that was going to be our best recruiting, was how well we played and how well we finished the season.
Brandon Murray had a big game over the weekend for Georgetown. His 17 was really the highlight of the whole.
Their first road win in 2 years in the Big East.
22 games since they won a road game. But Murray played well.
Yeah, he was excited. I texted with him. We were actually texting yesterday after the game, so I texted him, "Good job. He made some free throws down the stretch. Thought he played well. Thought he did some really, really good things." So he's been banged up this year. He's been injured a little bit, but he's coming back, and it says a lot about him, man, that he played. They're not really playing for anything. They're going to be the last place team in the Big East and probably get bounced pretty early in that conference tournament, maybe win a game. And he's still out there playing and battling and doing what he does. So really, really proud of him. And he's had a solid year for him.
This was a recruiting cycle that you were very close to, obviously, with the amount of attention that you were showing in recruiting this class. Have you stayed in touch with this group? How do you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you continue to watch and
Oh
evaluate.
yeah. They text me. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I talked to them. I got a text from one of them's parents yesterday. Yeah. No, I talked to quite a few of them still.
Yeah, because I'd imagine that's a major selling point on you whenever anything is ruled on and it's evaluated on what happens. I mean, you show up and you've got players. I mean, like that's a game changer.
Yeah, I'm not sure many ADs would question that logic. So yeah, I mean, I think we would. I think we've had pretty good players.
Yeah, right.
If we ever ended up somewhere, I think we'd show up with. We'd have our own luggage, as Dion said. Right. We'd be all right. So
back in Louis too.
No, I mean I stay in touch with people just because. Like I like to keep relationships with people. I keep in touch with kids who committed to me at VCU who are playing mid and low. There's a bunch of kids and parents and people that I'm staying in touch with my kids who play for me at Chattanooga. I mean, shoot, one of my kids at Chattanooga coaches now, and he's got a kid who plays at another school, and he's like, he wants to transfer. Can you help us with it? I mean, just stay in touch with all your people and take care of all your folks and make sure they're doing well and touch base with them. And a lot of those guys just reach out to me and ask for advice and ask for stuff. And I help any way I can.
I know that your former assistant, Bill, is a high school basketball coach now in St. Louis, has one of the top overall teams in the country right now. How much is the high school coach still involved in recruiting?
It depends on the situation. I mean, Bill's got like a national,
right.
Like a showcase team. I mean, I went and watched them play in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago. It's like the point guard's going to North. I mean, they got a kid coming off the bench going to Oklahoma. I'm like, golly. Bill used to always get mad at me in recruiting because he'd be like, Coach, we got to have some role players. Like, we got to have some role players because, I just wanted the best players, period. I didn't give a damn about any of that. I told Bill, I said, what happened to all that bullshit you used to tell me about we need role players? You got freaking high majors. You got 9 high major players on your team. You're bringing high major kids off the bench. What the hell happened to all the role players we supposedly need? It's a little different when I'm the head coach.
It's a year by year. It's a year by year philosophy.
Yeah, like you want the best players you can get. Don't give me that crap about we need role players.
Right.
We need the best players. He tried to talk me out of taking kids sometimes. I don't know how the chemistry's going to work. Let me worry about the chemistry. Let me worry about the chemistry. I'd rather worry about the chemistry because we got too many good players and worry about how we're going to get through the season because we only got 6 guys. So anyway, but I mean, it depends. Like when you're like, you're getting those kids from different, people. So the people who deliver those kids are gonna mostly be the ones who handle the recruitments, and that's part of part of how you get them is you say, look, you handle the recruitment, I'll just coach them and do what we need to do. But kids who are at local high schools or in community high schools, that sort of thing, high school coach still plays an important part, and a lot of high school. There's great high school coaches around, especially like in the state of Louisiana. There's a lot of high school coaches that play a big part in their kids, and AAU coaches that play a big part in their kids. Look at somebody like Randy Livingston, a great guy, big time player, great coach at Newman, and his relationships, how he got his kid out to Boise State through somebody he played with overseas. I mean, he was intimately involved in that. Now Lockett's going out there because of his relationship, and so there's a lot of really, really good high school coaches and guys who help those kids and are certainly very involved in the process.
Obviously, there has not been anyone that has ever intimidated you in recruiting. You've gone after the top players in the country consistently. How much do you think that approach will change now that NIL and all of these discussions that are now on the table exist?
For me?
On the table, under the table.
Just in general.
Board.
Yeah, above board. Everything above board.
Look,
Everything.
Recruiting's changing. It's funny. I was talking to a guy this morning who was giving me stats on what the average high major guards making, high major wing, and high major bigs actually making, like real money, what they're making in NIL. It's obviously a lot less than what's being reported, but I was kind of getting some data points on what guys were making and kind of what the going rate is, so to speak, for a good point guard, a good wing, a good big man. And so, there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of it's sifting through that and finding the right information. But, I still think NIL is important, but the kids still choose because of opportunity. Relationship has something to do with it. The opportunity to play, the opportunity to win, the opportunity to get shots. I mean, all that stuff is still very, very important. And I look at the NIL as kind of, you've got to be competitive with the NIL. But if you're offering $25,000 less, but you got some of that other stuff, I think the kid's still going to go with you. You just have to be competitive. You can't be you got to be in the same stadium with them. You can't be across the street. And so I think as long as the fundamentals of recruiting are still the same. You got to have relationships with people. You got to have relationships with kids. You got to build a trust level, because a lot of the NIL stuff is BS. I mean, the numbers I went through this morning were real numbers based off of this some real data that an attorney and some people had collected, and you've got to know what's real and what's not real, and to do that, you got to have a trust level with people, because a lot of kids are being told one thing and they're not getting something. Mm-hmm. I talked to a kid a couple of days ago saying, "Hey, 4 of my checks didn't come that I was supposed to get." Okay, well, they lied to you. So there's still a trust factor that, hey, what we tell you we're going to do, we're going to follow through on. Yeah. And so I think that's still an important part, is you got to have the relationship and that trust factor. And then the NIL is obviously important, but I think that's a piece that as long as if you've got the other part and you're close on the NIL, I think you'll be in good shape.
What's the boxes you look to check if in a perfect scenario you land somewhere and they have facilities, administration? Like what all are you looking for? I know the last place that you were at, facilities was something that you were consistently looking for help with. You wanted a weight room on the same side of the street. You wanted coaches' offices within that complex. What's the situation look like in a perfect world for, I guess, not only you, but for, just ideally for a head coach?
I mean, you want to go somewhere where you can win. I mean, look, facilities are important, but they're not the be all end all. You got to have structures in place to win, and you got to have somewhere where there's a commitment to winning. And commitment, everybody says, "Oh, we're committed to winning." It's more than just words. Like, you got to be able to see, like, what tangible things have they done to win. And so and there's just different ways you can look at it. Like, to me, what they pay the assistants is really, really important. Like, you're only as good as the people you got. And so, you can overcome bad facilities with really good people and a really good work ethic. And you can overcome all that stuff. And so, what's the assistant pool? What's the administrative pool? What are the admission standards like? What's our transfer policies? How many credits are we going to take on transfers? All that stuff is just as important, as more important to me than the facility. You can get around all that. Mm-hmm. I think that stuff's really, really important. I think it limits your ceiling, and I think there's a certain point where you've got to have all that to win. But initially, to kind of jolt a program, you don't need all that. That's not the first step. The first step is to make sure you got all that other stuff in place, and then you need, then you've got to start. Look, any company. I mean, Jordy, you run a company. You run a media company. The best companies are the most efficient companies, and so but you've got to have the right people before you get the efficiency. If you don't have the right people and you're efficient, it doesn't really matter. So once you get the right people, then you got to start worrying about the efficiency. And so that's the way I look at it. And so what can you do to have the right human capital, the right people, the right situation? Everybody, knows that basketball is important and we're trying to win in basketball. And then you need all the other stuff, because you can get it to a certain level just with that, with people, work ethic, all that sort of stuff. But to get it to a championship caliber level, you've got to have a lot more than that. And so it just depends on where the program is. But the most important part is that first part with the people.
Last one, I'll get you out of here. How hard is it to win at this point in the college basketball schedule?
Yeah, everybody knows you. I mean, it's challenging. It's challenging. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Everybody has a good feel for everybody, and so it's challenging and it's tough. But the best teams kind of rise to the occasion. The teams that win now are the teams that have really good identity. And just play to their identity, because they're going to take some stuff away, but can you just force your will and impose your identity on the other team? They're going to know all your baseline out of bounds plays. You can add a couple of things to spice it up. They're going to know most of your sets. You can add a couple, but can you just do it? That's why A&M's just, they just impose their will. They're tough. They're tough, and they find ways to make things happen. I mean, 70% of conference games are 3 possessions or less. So, and it gets even closer when you get down here. So take it to 2. So how can you manipulate 2 possessions? It's a loose ball here. It's winning a jump ball here. It's getting 2 more offensive rebounds here, creating an extra turnover here. So it's really, now is when you're trying to figure out the margins and how to win in those margins. I always enjoyed this time of year and try to make it more exciting for our team, but also try to hone in our focus on our staff on a couple, 2 or 3 margin things that we can do to get an extra 2 or 3 possessions every game, which will give ourselves an opportunity to win.
What was the craziest thing you saw Cam Thomas do in a shooting drill?
Oh, God. I mean, he had these 1-foot shots he could hit that were just, he did all sorts of wild stuff.
Well, there's the Chris Jackson story. If he hit 121 of 125 free throws one day, was Cam ever? Was that because free throws is the deal?
He would go we'd shoot 100 free throws at the end of practice. He'd go 98, 99 for 100 almost all the time. I mean, he just, and he'd be the first one out of there too. I mean, he just everybody go through. He was just boom, boom, boom. It was like rapid fire. It looked like that game you play at like Chuck E. Cheese where they got the bat and you just throwing them up there. I mean, he'd just throw them up there and go, yeah, pop a shot. He'd be like 98 for 100. He'd be like, damn. But yeah, he was incredible with that stuff.
Have a good week, Coach. Great to see you as always.
We'll do it. Same to you guys.
Salute. There he is, the General, the Will Wade Show, weekly, right here, a part of FM Digital Media. We'll be back with you next week.